These are yellow-striped scad, one of the smallest members of the trevally family. They get hunted by their bigger cousins, among others, especially at dusk. But you can imagine how much plankton they eat as a school, and think of that in terms of what other animals they might be controlling. When marine creatures spawn, most species do it big time and release thousands or even millions of potential offspring as plankton. And if 99.9% of those offspring don't get eaten, for example by this school of scad, their population explodes and they become a pest that throws the whole system out of whack. The next couple of shots show the black sand slopes of northeastern Bali, Indonesia, one of my favourite places to film. Plenty of weird critters, and it's safe to stick the tripod pretty much anywhere, which is very handy for me. Here we have a totally different group of planktivores with their own survival strategy. They're called banded garden eels, and they never leave their holes. So instead of swimming out to catch plankton like we saw the antheus do, these garden eels wait for the current to bring plankton right to them. When they all move together, that's to keep themselves facing into the oncoming surge. Any other head movement is to investigate and hopefully eat whatever the ocean has brought with it. They're very tricky to film because they're scared of everything. They'll completely suck down in the sand when they get nervous. It took around 30 attempts over 10 days of diving to get this shot. The yellowfin surgeonfish are easy enough, but predicting the path of these marauding, bottom-sucking mullet and getting the tripod in place and the camera rolling before they get there, oh man, it was maddening. Anyway, both species specialise in mobile sewage treatment. Sand slopes like this should be littered with sea cucumbers, which are nature's vacuum cleaners. But since sea cucumbers have been overfished almost everywhere, my guess is these surgeonfish and mullet have stepped in and are even more important than ever in keeping the seafloor clean. For years, I've been trying to film these juvenile convict blennies as they stream home to their nest. It's tricky because it only happens once each day at dusk, and I need to find a nest in a location where I could place the camera behind the hole, which are usually on walls, and have a clear shot from the open water feeding grounds all the way into the entrance of the underground cave. The mother convict blenny maintains the nest and lives in there with the juveniles. No other fish species do this, by the way. These are seriously bizarre animals. Apparently the mother sends her kids off into the dangerous blue water to get a belly full of plankton. Then they come home where they pack in to sleep hanging from the roof of this cave by strands of mucus. As far as I know, nobody has ever recorded the mother out of her hole, so she presumably eats whatever the kids bring home. And I doubt they're regurgitating that plankton. So in other words, my guess is that the mother fish eats baby fish poo. On the lee side of patch reefs, you typically find white sand with small areas of heavier coral rubble. The biggest pieces of rubble are stable enough to become encrusted with corals, in this case a soft coral called Sinularia. This coral then forms a focal point for fish to aggregate around, effectively its own microhabitat. This is my favourite filming environment because the fish tend to stay in a small area so they get used to me more quickly, and I can put the tripod almost anywhere without harming anything. You still need to be careful touching the bottom though. I remember touching down with my bare knee right onto a demon stinger scorpionfish in Rubble just like the stuff in this shot. Full on mind-numbing pain that's really less than ideal when you're 20 metres underwater.